Hey guys, Anime West Reacts is going to be my reaction slash review of Talentless Nana Chapter 60 titled Moe Part 6. So, yeah, starts off, we're at the hospital with Moe and her grandma. Moe saying, or was telling her story, I guess, and says, and then I stuck my head out from between her legs. All the talented people were so surprised. She smiles, and the grandma says, that sounds fun. And she says, that girl, Nana-chan, how is she? Moe says, Shinpai and I get along great. She's been feeling down recently, so I've been sticking by her side. Grandma, laughs weakly, I guess, and says, I wonder who's sticking by whom. And then she says, take good care of her. I'm certain that you are being protected by her. And then, yeah, seems to, she, is having trouble breathing, it looks like. Then Moe says, oh, yeah. Oh, right. Your birthday is coming up, so I. And Sir Oka comes in and says, I've contacted your family and your friends and family, friends, and former coworkers. Grandma says, thank you, Suroka-san. You did more for me than simply coming to visit. And she says, you even handled my final arrangements. And he says, of course I did. You gave me extra large helpings when I was a student. That. And so, yeah, the grandma says, you provided assistance to the welfare facility and covered my medical costs for such trifling reason. And he says, "Are you someone that who can't stand idly by when they see someone in trouble? All this time, you've allowed me to see that truly are good people like that in the world." And then she says, "That doesn't sound like a joke." And then I guess Sarah says, "But the reason we test people is because somehow we want to believe in them." Then she turns to Moe and says her name and asks her to go buy her a vase. Moe says, sure, and gets the wallet and leaves. And she says, I can choose one I like, right? And Moe runs off, and then we get Suroka and the grandma talking to each other. She says, I have one request for you, Suroka-san. And he says, what is it? Then grandma says, Moe is assisting the talented, isn't she? I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what it is that she does. And then Soroka says, she seems to be enjoying it. And the grandma says, when the time is right, could you send her to a normal school? And he asks if she's worried about her being involved with the military. And she says, that girl, perhaps it's because she was hurt growing up, but she sometimes struggles to understand life and the pain of others. She believes she can do to others what was done to her. And then Soroka says, there certainly is no limit to her innocence. It's almost barbaric. And the grandma says, I'm concerned that disposition might develop in an odd way, and besides, wouldn't you agree that she lacks the tenacity to fight? And he just smiles and says, she doesn't have the ability to face, or I guess the grandma might be still talking, but someone says she doesn't have the ability to face pain or suffering. She seeks out fun and comfort instead. And Soroka says, Moe suffered more than enough pain as a child, so you don't want her to have to face any more suffering. That's what you once told me. And then see, the young, more broken Moe. And the grandma says, I never did scold or discipline her. When she cried, I ended up crying with her. I doubt she'll be able to accept my death for a while. Then, yeah, Soroka says, you have my word. And then she says, yes. That was my only regret. So now we go back to Nana's group. And so you see Kyoya, Nana, Fuko, and Sachi or Sari. Forget her name. But yeah, she says, when is Moe-chan coming back? And Kyoya says, well, there's no guarantee that Makabe is involved with the case. Nana says, indeed. Someone was being so pushy, I had to make a lame excuse in order to prolong my own life. And then, yeah, Kyoya says, so what will you do now? And it's true that we found evidence the car keys were a match for the car used in the accident. And then he says, why were they found in your room? And then Nana says, the only explanation I can offer is that the true culprit put them there. Are they responsible for this letter too? Nana says, if I wanted to lure Saijo out someplace, I would have told him in person. And Kyoya says, I'm curious about the victim's state of mind. Then he goes over the people. Yeah, he says, Mishima Koharu was missing, and the Gravity Boy was killed under those circumstances. Hard to imagine he believed this type of letter and headed to a deserted location. Yeah. And then Nana says, let's investigate Saijo. And then both of them like hold their hands out to Sachi or Sari, whichever her name is. And she says, wait, what? And they're like, could you take us to Saijo's room? And she's like, I'm not a taxi, you know. And then Fuko does it as well. He's like, Fuko-chan, you too. Because she has that teleporting power, so they're just kind of using her to get places. But yeah, they teleport to Saijo's room. Nana says, do you suppose Saijo-san actually read that letter? Kyoya says, it sounds like you're trying to say Soma set you up. But I was there when that letter was found in this room. Then he says, we found it in this desk drawer. And inside that drawer were letters from his family and Lucky Charms. In other words, we can assume Saijo thought he should keep that suspicious letter in a safe place. And then Nana says, that's odd. And then Sari says, listen, about that. The reason Saijo-kun believed that letter that was allegedly sent by you, probably because Saijo had feelings for you. And Nana's like, I see. She's like in a thinking pose, like, I see. And then she just like realized everyone kind of like goes, like freezes, and then she's like, huh, wait, who, me? And then, yeah, she's like, sorry, Sachi says, Kiyomi told me the other day. Apparently, that was the rumor going around. It says, hey, isn't that Hiragi? It's surprising that she has leadership skills. Impressive too. Not only that, but yeah, she says, when I ate with him, he couldn't stop talking about Nanchan the other day in the classroom. And Nan's like, I don't recall ever talking to him. You're talking to Saijo-san. And then she's like, yeah, well, guess that happens sometimes. And then Kyoya says, that's why Saijo defended Hiragi from when Soma said that he'd be the leader. Then Nana says, which means someone who knew about Saijo's feelings for me used that. And Sachi says, I think a lot of people knew Soma and Saijo had allegedly known each other for a long time. And then Kyoya says, what's Soma and Saijo's relationship? And she says, before going to the island, they were both on the rugby team at the same school. Saijo-kun said that Soma went bad because of an injury. And Kyoya says, what was Saijo's talent? And then she says, Sachi's like, let me see, what was it? And hold on. He's like, I know he told me. And then Fuko says it was a glass body, I believe. And it says glass, not just his heart. Then Fuko says he could make his body transparent like glass. That's what Ryuji-san said. So, yeah, it's an interesting ability. And Sachi's like, yeah, that's right. Actually, couldn't he turn his body into actual glass? I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, though. And then you have like this figurine of the glass figurine thing. And Kyoya says, sounds cool, like a superhuman. And then Fuko says, anyway, I realized something. May I offer my opinion? And she says, I've heard that glass is an insulator that doesn't conduct electricity. Meanwhile, Soma's talent is electricity. And then Kyoya says, you think Soma did it? And she doesn't say anything, but then she like hesitates and says, can't deny that he seems to be rushing things. And then that Kyoya says, go on. And then Fuko says, from Soma's perspective, he couldn't use his talent to murder Saijo, so he used a car. And then Kyoya says, sorry, but that still doesn't explain why he'd use the car itself. The soldiers who lend Soma a gun if he would lend Soma a gun if he asked to borrow one, right? He could have taken him by surprise and bludgeoned him to death too. And then he's like, I doubt Hiragi could handle it, but with his with his build, I'm sure Soma could have taken Saijo in a physical fight. And then Fuka says, that's what he wanted us to think. Perhaps he wanted to mislead us. And Kyoya says, mislead us, huh? If you're saying he faked that car accident in order to outwit us, we could say the same thing about Hiragi. That would make Hiragi the culprit since the car keys were hidden in her room. And then Nana's like in deep thought, it looks like. And then Sachi says, everyone else is starting to change too. People around Nana-chan have died, and she has been treated as the culprit before. It's happened numerous times now. And then, she like goes over to Nana and says, are you listening? Or she like goes quiet, but when she goes up to Nana, she says, Nana-chan, are you listening? And she says, oh, sorry. And she's like, I was feeling sorry for Saijo san. And then Kyoya says, Hiragi, that Soma is really trying to kill you. I know that she says, I know that I'm formulating various hypotheses right now, but honestly, I'm stuck. And then we go back to the hospital with Moe. We see like all the friends and family and everyone that was called. And Moe saying the school's meat and potatoes isn't very good, but their omelet rice is great. Hey grandma, let's go to the zoo again sometime. And someone like says Moe-chan because they're like trying to console her. So Moe says, I'm going to get a drink, and when she goes out in the hallways, she like runs, or Tsuruoka like walks up beside her, I guess. Or appears beside her. I don't know if he walked up beside her, but I'm guessing that's the only way he could get next to her. But he says, you were originally meant to be Hiragi's backup in the event that Hiragi was killed by the Talented after being sent to the island. The old men on the committee would need a new source of entertainment. But now that the plan has changed, you have no function. And she looks up at him and he says, if you wanted, you could leave the military. I could arrange for you to live freely with your grandmother's remains. What do you think? And then Moe's like, I could leave the army. I could leave that school. And then she says, I could live with grandma. That would be okay. And then Tsuruoka says, there is one condition. It's about the murder caused by Soma. Apparently, you witnessed the crime. They're currently investigating the murderer. The assumption that Hiragi is the culprit. And then Moe says, why Shinpai? Soma-kun did it. And she yells, Soma-kun did it. And then Tsuruoka says, keep your mouth shut. And then Moe's like, huh? And he says, you saw nothing, you heard nothing. So she's like, but I want to be useful to Shinpai. And then he like gives this little grin. And he says, has Hiragi ever relied on you? Didn't Mishima Koharu die because you tipped me off? And then she says, she forgave me for that. And then Tsuruoka says, I'm willing to forgive you too. The day I took you to the island, you said you'd kill Hiragi if she betrayed us. And I'm always like, I'm sorry about that. I just enjoy being around Senpai. It's fun. And then Tsurugi gets like really all up in her face and says, "You're a traitor who knows classified military information. I could kill you right here." And she's and he says, "But I don't because I want to continue to enjoy Makabe's goodness even after her death." And he says, the person who wants you to stop associating with me, Hiragi, and the other students is your own grandmother." And then, yeah, I'm always like, "Grandma does." And so, yeah, he's like, "Soma seems to think he can control you easily. Hiragi will probably fight this one alone again. What good would it do for you to come forward as a witness now? You simply get dragged into more unnecessary conflict. Wouldn't that go against the wishes of the woman concerned for your well being?" And then Mo is like, did Grandma say that I should keep my mouth shut too? Did she say that?" And Tsuruka says, "She's often said that it would be alright for you to run from pain and suffering." And so then the doctor comes out, and then, yeah, you got Moe kind of in this difficult position between Grandma and Nana. So you see, like, the two of them, and then, like, all the memories, I guess, or, yeah, all her memories of the two of them kind of, like, colliding together. And then she says, I understand. And then the doctor comes over and says she's gone. And that's how the chapter ends. So yeah, pretty good chapter overall. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, comment on the video, subscribe for more anime reaction reviews and manga reviews. Check out the links down below to my Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. And I will see y'all next time. So yeah,